you have something?
No.
Another team? Oh, you want them to approach them?
Yeah. Well, I don't want my hopes to get anywhere close to that. Is that this week? What's that? Yeah, it was supposed to be. That's how it goes. We need some of these other teams, like these Steelers or something like that, to actually do something.
Again.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're hoping.
Instead of just wallowing in
The past.
I'm sorry.
I hear you.
I must have spoken up. I like the banker.
Hey, good evening. I'd like to call to order the February 13th, 2024 regular board meeting. And I'd like to announce a meeting of the Mechanicsburg Area School District Board of Directors are being recorded and live streamed for the purpose of transparency and increased public access. The live stream, along with the recordings from previously held meetings, can be found on the school board's YouTube channel. At this time, if all would like to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll have a brief moment of silent meditation. Move on to item 1.05, roll call, Mr. Longwell.
Mr. Bradley.
Here.
Mr. Frangel.
Here.
Mrs. Huff.
Here.
Mr. Kickline.
Here.
Dr. Lebo.
Here.
Ms. Morgan is present via Zoom, I see. Dr. Rhodes.
Present.
Mr. Rupp.
Here.
And Mr. Sanker.
Here.
Endorsement of agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight, Mr. Longwell?
There are no changes, Mr. Rupp, and the agenda will otherwise stand as written.
Reading of the minutes of the regular board meeting of January 9th, 2024. Do any board members have any further discussion or corrections on those meetings? Seeing none, and that will be accepted as they're printed, Mr. Longwell. Move on to item 2, hearing of visitors of items on the meeting agenda. There will be 2 opportunities for public comment this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents of the school district. At this time, we have reached the first opportunity for public comment. This opportunity is reserved for comments related to items that are listed on the evening's agenda for a vote. The second opportunity for public comment will occur at the end of the meeting. The second opportunity for public comment is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. It requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please share your name and district address at the podium. This is public comment for items that are on the agenda tonight and being voted on. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, reports and presentations. Item 3.01, Superintendent of Schools report, Dr. Leidy.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you. I appreciate coming out on what started out as a beautiful yet snowy day and turned into sunshine this afternoon. So that's a good thing. I have 2 items this evening, and Sue's all right with it. I'm going to start with our student here, Mr. McIntosh. Could come up and bring your guest with you here. As the board knows, what we've been trying to do over the course of the year is highlight a program and building each month, and then we're also doing 2 visits to buildings this year too, both of which are still to come. But this evening, we're very fortunate to have Upper Allen with us tonight, and with that, I will turn it over to Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Dr. Leidy. Before we get started, I want to introduce my co-speaker for this evening, co-presenter. I'll say a little bit about Nadir. Nadir, I first met when he was a 3rd grader at Elmwood Elementary, where I was principal at the time. And he was one of the most active and curious and enthusiastic students I've ever worked with, and that hasn't ended. Tonight he's asking all kinds of really good questions about the board's work, how long are your terms, and all of those things. So his curiosity has continued. I'll let Nadir tell you a few things about himself.
Okay, hello guys. My name is Nadir Ibrahim and I'm a senior at Mechanicsburg High School. My mom came here, my mom came here around 2010 from a refugee camp in Kenya, and she moved to that refugee camp around like 1991 when Civil War broke out in her neighborhood. And I can't wait to tell you guys about World Expo today.
Before we actually get into telling you about the event, the World Expo at our school, I want to give you a little bit of background to let you know how it all started. About 10 years ago, we noticed kind of a sharp increase in the amount of families that were coming to our school from around the world. And to be honest, we weren't quite sure what to do at the beginning. And the new families coming in has continued. We continue to have more Somali students probably in our school than any other nationalities, but we've had a big increase lately in Latin American families and families from Asia.
What do those numbers represent? When you say new families, are they?
Yeah, so about 35%. 35 to 38% of our students at my school and when I was at Elmwood have families who speak a language other than English at home as their primary language. And out of those, the majority of them are Somali and very close now with Latin America, and then Asia. Lately, we've been getting a lot of new students, mostly from Nepal.
Thank you.
With the increase in non-English speaking families, we started to notice some decreases in some really important areas for our school. One was our attendance rates started to drop down. Elmwood was pretty consistent in the high 90s, and we got down as low as in the high 80s one year. And for me, that was really alarming. The participation rate as well in things like parent-teacher conferences, even attendance in school, attendance at school events also started to go down. And then the final one was academics, including like our PSSA scores. So for me as a principal and for our staff and our community, those were things that we were really concerned about at that time. Again, this is probably 8 to 9 years ago.
So we had a committee formed of teachers, parents, and students to study the culture and determine how we could improve. So surveys and questionnaires were spread among the whole all the neighborhoods and students and teachers. And 3 main areas stood out. There was lack of sense of belonging and fear and distrust of the unknown. And there was one main thing, language. Language was a big barrier to communication, and people couldn't understand what we were trying to get through. And so it was really hard to improve and find a space to come together.
So once we had information, we better understood the problem that we were having, and we knew better how to tackle it. So then we had to come up with some strategies and goals and solutions to our problems. So it was a multi-pronged approach, and then it carried out over several years. So here are some of the main points that we came up with. One, we needed to hire more language interpreters to improve communication, so that it wasn't a big push at first, and then we have interpreters now at all of our conferences. We use Language Line pretty extensively now, and that's been a huge help for us. Training for the staff as well. One of my favorite training nights we had is where I invited parents in to just tell their story to small groups of teachers. And once teachers had a better understanding of who they were before they came here, what their journey was like, how difficult it was for them, and then what it's like for them in our communities now, it helped them to better approach their students. We also had luncheons at school, tours for new families, which those have continued as well. Events in some of our neighborhoods where most of those non-English speaking families lived. We partnered with local churches to do that as well. So the simple thing like hanging student artwork where they could see themselves in the artwork. I have a picture up here of a Somali girl wearing a hijab. That's still in my front lobby as you walk in, so that those parents right away see some artwork up, and their sense of anxiety goes down a little bit. After school academic support, we partnered with a number of churches in our area, and they provide after school tutoring. Our students weren't able to get the same kind of help at home from their parents because they didn't speak the language, so that helped tremendously. Books. We say that books need to serve as both a window for students to see the whole world out there in front of them, but books at times should also serve like a mirror where they can see themselves in books. So we worked really hard to make sure that our students, we had books in our classrooms and in the library where students could see themselves. And then what we want to talk to you about tonight is the last two bullets of our pronged approach. Events to serve as a gateway to school, begin where families are most comfortable, and events, we're very intentional about any event at our school that we use them as an opportunity to bridge cultures and for parents to form relationships.
While many of our families felt shy about coming to school and interacting with teachers from home, the expo met parents where they were most comfortable sharing their traditions and cultures. Many people were sharing their food, their clothing, their country's history. So the World Expo is a one-day event where students go around stations. The presenters set up a station. They can bring anything they want. There's no limit on what they can bring. And each student gets to travel from country to country for 12 to 13 minutes, learn about the station that they're at, and it was just a fun way and we also had, after the students left, we also had like 10 minutes for the presenters to get around and learn about other countries and what their kids' classmates were from and where their families were. And I just said, this is a couple pictures of families coming together and just kids having fun.
It was important for us, if you look at the pictures, we invite all parents and all families to participate. In my family, we have a Scottish heritage. It was my great something grandfather, but it's still interesting for me, and the same was true about some of our families. So they were able to come in and teach students about that country and to celebrate it.
And then on the bottom left corner, that's me during my junior year presenting Somalia and teaching the kids about it. I've been a presenter since 6th grade and have loved teaching students about my culture and the unique things that I've learned when I was younger.
Nadir talked about learning from other cultures as well. He's one of the kids, one of the adults sort of now, one of the older kids that is walking around and asking people all kinds of questions about their foods, their culture, their religion even. He's a really knowledgeable guy, and that's because he asks a lot of good questions. Naturally curious. So while the day is focused on our students and our students learning about each other and learning about other cultures, a big part of our day is focused also on our parents and our presenters. And so one of the goals, if you remember earlier on, was for them to make connections and to make relationships, and that really happens on this day. We set up the connections on this day in a number of ways. First, we have what's called tour guides. And the tour guides take small groups of students around from country to country. So they're hearing all the presentations with the kids, they're asking questions, and they're learning about the cultures. We also have parents that come in to help presenters. We may have a family that is really enthusiastic about their country, but they don't have the communication skills in English to be able to talk and share. So they may use one of our parents to help them with the presentation parts, or to help prepare their boards, or serve food. So in that way, they develop a very intimate relationship with those families and those people they're helping. And finally, Nadir talked about how we encourage the parents, once the students are gone, to go around and visit the other countries. And that's one of the parts that brings me a great deal of joy. You may see people from all different areas like up and dancing and trying foods and stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. Many of our families do develop important relationships that carry on beyond our school, even in through high school. It can be something as simple as, hey, can I pick your son up to go to basketball practice? Or something like that, where maybe they might not have that opportunity otherwise. So these are 3 areas that we wanted to tackle. If you go back to the survey that we shared at the beginning, the survey results, we wanted opportunities for parents to feel connected in school and to develop relationships with both the school staff, but then also other people in their community. Next is the knowing and trusting. In the picture here, the 2 students in front, believe it or not, they're not Somali, but they were trying on Somali clothing so that they could have a better understanding of it, feel more comfortable. So if they see a girl wearing a hijab, it's no big deal. I tried on a hijab too. And then the other one, belonging. I love this picture. This was a new student to our school that came in 3rd grade, and he really kind of felt lost and intimidated at first. And you can see the pride in his face there with his mother. We do this event early in the year, and he developed a real sense of belonging in our school community, and so did his parents.
And so I want to talk about how the World Expo has helped me a lot. I've seen a big change in attitude coming from my mom once this World Expo started. Before, around my 1st, 2nd grade year, she was like, didn't trust the people and the teachers. But then once this World Expo happened, and she's always talking about Mr. McIntosh till this day, even though none of the youngest kid in our family is in 8th grade. And so I've seen that she's been she has loved just coming in, making food, laughing. Making food is their way of showing their love and just showing the people that they care. And so I feel like it benefited her a lot, but it also benefited me because it gave me confidence and also taught my friends and peers about my culture. So it wasn't weird for me to talk about it because they learned about it in the big gym, and they were trying food. So they came up with I made friends that I still have today about we just had conversations about how good the food was, and they liked it, and I brought in some food from my house to them, and so that helped me, and I feel like it could benefit a lot of people. We still have kids. It started our 4th grade year, and we still have kids from Melville talking about it at the high school to this day, and hope that they just wanted a chance to redo it, and they've started it at our high school. They started a culture day so that they could do something just like this and teach other kids about their heritage. And so I feel like it would benefit more students, just as it did me.
That's great.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. Do you have any questions about the World Expo, things happening in school, or yes, Mr. Rupp?
John, actually, I have a quick 2-part question and then
Sure.
a short comment. Is on the very first slide, when we looked at the different groups that are moving here,
Yes.
is that only reflecting 1st generation people that are coming here? Or say people were already established in America and it would be a 2nd generation moving here, or?
That's a really great question. So what I was looking at mostly is families who had people at home who spoke primarily another language. So most of those would not be a 2nd generation. They would be 1st generation. The exciting part about the Somali families, though, is that they came in the 90s, so we're starting to get 2nd generation children, which is really exciting, and we're getting some former students that are having children of their own.
And the other part of that question, which I think you might have answered, but so for instance, Latin America, which includes Puerto Rico, would we be including people of that descent that already have been, they're U.S. citizens anyways, but have been here for a generation or 2, or are we looking at more ones that are immigrating in from there and others?
For my numbers, I'm talking about people who have newly immigrated. Correct. Or within probably the last so many years, but some families have been here for a longer period of time. But I'm mostly looking at ones that still retain a lot of their own culture and pride, and also maybe have some uncertainties about where they fit in school and their culture. So it's part of our job, especially at the elementary level, to teach them about school as well and about what their role should be as parents. So this was part of an initiative, and I've told Dr. Lady this before. I became very close to a friend. He thus moved away, but I heard he's moving back, Abdi Salan, who really was instrumental with a lot of our work at the beginning too. One day we really challenged each other about, what can we do? And he came back to me and he said, I figured it out. We need to do less for the Somali people and more with the Somali people. And that kind of changed the whole way that I started my whole approach to new families coming in, is how can I include them and make them feel like they're part of what's happening and what they have to offer is important versus just trying to do things for their families. Doing things for them is important at times too, but they have to have value in what's happening in school. And so anyway, yeah.
And the statement part of that is, you've always impressed me so much in your ability to deal with people of different cultures. And it really, I didn't realize it until tonight. It's because you also are willing to take the role of the student, and you allow our student teachers who are from these different cultures to educate you on the.
Oh, yeah.
So therefore I thank you for taking that role at a very young age, and you're also helping to lead him on what your culture does and how you can better interact with our society here. I think that's absolutely great.
For me, it's less about learning how to deal with people than it is an opportunity for me to learn and grow with them. So I enjoy it. It's an opportunity for me to learn and grow myself. So
absolutely.
Do you don't mind if I make a comment?
Oh, yeah.
So it's interesting, dear, that you're speaking before us today because, first of all, I can't imagine what you and your family went through. I think we all should be honored to be before you. And I had an opportunity. I bumped into Nadir in the community, and I was with my son, who was also a senior. And the interaction between my son and Nadir, as a parent, sparked me. It was a very, very cordial interaction, and they were very friendly with each other. So it actually spurred on a conversation for about 20 minutes afterwards. And I hate to say that we were speaking about you, but we were. And the conversation was, who's Nadir? What's Nadir about? And the descriptors that my son used was, he's an incredibly positive light in our school. He's an incredibly kind person. He has grown so much since I first met him, and he's a great young man. So, in this presentation, we talked about belonging. Well, you belong, okay? You belong in our community. In fact, we need people like you in our community. So communities across the country should be begging for people like you. You belong, okay? Secondly, relationships. I saw that up there. As a young man, you're fostering relationships and you're changing other kids' lives. You're changing other kids' perspectives. You've done it for my son. I just had the good grace of being there when I saw it and we talked about it. So I just wanted to point out that you belong. I'm honored to have you. I'm honored to have your family and your community part of my community, part of our community. So you should be proud of what you've accomplished here. I just wanted to let you know that we had that interaction, and you're making a difference. So you should be very proud, really, really proud.
Thank you.
Nadir, I just had a quick question for you. You said you came over in 3rd grade?
No, I came at 4 years old.
4 years old?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
at the north side for 1st and 2nd,
Got
and
it.
then was transferred to the Elmwood 3rd grade. So I was at the Elmwood.
Okay, that's right. So when you came, did you speak English when you first came?
No, I didn't speak English, but it was kind of easier for me to learn English because I was younger and didn't have I knew I spoke Somali on a day-to-day basis, but it was easier to learn for me to learn English because I didn't have much experience of me speaking Somali. So.
Well, your English is very good.
Thank
I was just kind of curious about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, most of our students, if they come at an early grade, they leave usually by 3rd grade. If they come from kindergarten on up, by 3rd grade, their English is usually pretty good. They learn much faster than we do. I've struggled with learning other languages. I'm not good, I know. I was, what was it? There's a program now where you can learn to say different words. I was like practicing. This was at Elmwood. So I went down the hall, I was all proud. I wanted to say like, hey, good morning, how you doing, you know? And the kids like all jumped away and they're like, what did I say? Something like jump, get out of here or something. I was like, all right, I'm not so good at that, so. But I'm always impressed with the kids and how quickly they pick it up. It's really amazing. And Nadir's an exceptionally, I brag about him a little bit. He's a really bright kid, always has been. And it's exciting to see his path continue on. He's hunting for the right college right now for him, and he'll be the first in this family to go to college, and it's a big source of pride, and I think his brothers will follow him as well.
That's great.
So, provide leadership in his own family.
And I continue to encourage him to consider
I always
path
work on
in
it.
education, because how amazing would that be?
We'll see how it works out. Right now, I'm on a different path, but we'll see.
You could at least
Very
serve
diplomatic.
serve on a school board.
Yeah,
or
so, yeah.
Well, I had a comment. Mr. McIntosh, I think this is a great program. I think that the other things you outlined too, like beyond this day, the idea of having to kind of go back into the community and redo those parts, some parts of those steps you talked about, the multi-pronged approach, like you gotta renew those things and also do it from school to school and with a different community within our district is admirable, and not just to say, well, you know, I'm in a different group than I was in the past, so I commend you for that. Nadir, I agree, like coming back and giving back already is commendable. I had a question, now that you're a senior and you saw some of the survey results that led to this type of program at the elementary level, what else can we do throughout the rest of the buildings up through 12th grade? We heard of a similar program from Mr. Reedy earlier this year, but what else can we do to foster belonging and the other things we need to do?
I think like just having more like younger kids sports, like so right now our younger kids love soccer, so trying to have clubs and like it could be an hour session, 2 hour session after school, and so I feel like that could like have kids come together and just have fun, and then parents can also connect while watching their kids. They can make friends, start friendships, and so I feel like sports is a big way for people make friends. People have friends that they made at around 5 years old from sports, and they're like really old, and so I feel like that sports is a big thing, and just them meeting themselves where they want it. Not just sports. There can be clubs where it's them watching movies, something that can bring them together. Because most kids I've seen in my like Somali culture, and there's a lot of the kids just want to do something. They don't want to stay home, and so if they find something that they like they with somebody else, then that would be the good way. They can do that together, even outside of the program. Parents will still find a way to make friends with the family, so that they can do that outside of.
It's making it accessible there though, and making everyone feel welcome as well. Sometimes the accessibility makes it more difficult. I know there was some Messiah students, gosh, how many years ago was that?
That was around like my second grade year. They used to come down every Tuesday for a block party in my neighborhood to see Cover the Point, and it was fun. I always looked forward to it. I would come from school, and then my mom would be like, "Okay, eat first," but I wouldn't eat. I would just run down to like the basketball court, because they used to have basketball tournaments. They would have dance parties. They would have like chalk on the floor. We would draw stuff. So it was just they were like coming to the community every Tuesday, and then sometimes they would like every summer they would have big ones where they would do a raffle for. So it was just fun, and people like came together from like it wasn't before CP was just enclosed to just CP, and then I think the block parties like opened a path for other people to come into our community, and so that's why it was really beneficial for us.
One of the most powerful ways is almost all of you are parents, all of you are, I think. It's just inviting a kid along or a family along that maybe, it's a risk. I know my wife and I have done that over the years, and a lot of families to our house and, go to other families' houses and There's always a little bit of risk and an uncomfortableness about it, but that's how you really get to know people, and inviting a kid along. You might be one of your child's friends from school. Say, hey, why don't you ask and see if they can come along too, and bring their brother with them or whatever. And that's a real powerful way to make connections in the community, to actually lend out that invitation.
Yeah, I want to add on to that. I like when kids used to, like when I was in middle school, when people would say, "Oh, do you want to go somewhere after school?" Or like I would be happy because it would just show that somebody actually wanted to be like with me and wanted to have like fun. So I feel like that helps a lot, and parents could are more trusting if they see that you care about their kid.
So that's something we encourage all of our parents to do, is reach out beyond the school day. It's not always easy to do.
Well, thank you both very much. Great things continue to happen in this district, and this is another example of that. I will add one element to what you said. Not only does your mom like to cook, she also likes to see people eat. So if you have the opportunity to go to the World Expo, make sure you're hungry when you walk in there, because you will get several plates of food. And it is
Mom's in the top
outstanding.
3 for me for sambusa. That's just not one of my favorite foods. I would tell her she's top, but I want to keep the competition going. I get fed more that way.
Thank you both. Great job. Great job. Well, Mrs. Urban, thank you for waiting there to hear that presentation. I know that the Simpson Library continues to look for ways to help in the community with making sure that everyone feels a sense of belonging, and so hopefully that was valuable for you to hear. But thank you for being here this evening and representing the Simpson Library, which has been a great partner to not only our school district but our community at large. And I'll turn it over to you to present to the board.
Thank you. It's a little intimidating following that presentation, but it was very educational and inspiring to me to hear that. I will be in touch with some questions for you. My brain is kind of churning with some ways that I think the library could be part of that and benefit greatly from it, because I think we struggle more than you're far more advanced than we are in how do we reach these communities and communicate with them. And you have it at the school level, but we have it more at the whole community level. And the demographics have changed so much, and it's an area where we don't feel that we're meeting needs the way we would like to. So a lot to think about. So thank you for that.
And you're there pretty often at the library, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am here to give you an update on the Simpson Library. I wasn't able to be here in November, and I have a one-page handout, short and sweet, no technology for me tonight. So my comments are, I'll start with by saying our library visits to daycare and preschool centers continue to be an important part of our community outreach. We know not everyone can bring their child to the library during the day, and this is a way where we can go to kids where the kids are and share the library with them. About half of the summer learning program participants last year were from the Mechanicsburg School District. The summer learning program is a great way to keep kids learning and having fun and reading over the summer, which helps with their academics when they return to school. As school board members, you have all heard about the summer slide and the impact that the summer break can have on some kids. So the library is helping with that in that way. I imagine some of you personally remember participating in summer learning or summer reading, as it may have been called, or your kids have gone through it, and I hope those bring some fond memories for you of those times for yourself or your family. We are providing library programs for the first, second, and third grade classes at Northside. We are happy to be back in their routine post-pandemic. And we are visiting various schools in the district in May to promote the summer learning program. and we are working with the Ready to Read, Ready to Succeed program, and we go to the kindergarten academy 3 times a month to assist with the lesson being provided. And then on the 4th week, they come to the library, which we're very happy to have them in the building to be exposed to all of the things that we have there. So those are just a few of the activities Simpson Library is currently providing to the school district. And we appreciate the opportunity to work with your students to help them become better readers, better learners, and better leaders. So we are continuing our work with Crabtree Rohrbaugh Architects for our building project for the Future Learning and Book Sales Center on Allen Street in Mechanicsburg. The architectural design work is almost finished, and we are just over halfway to our $2 million fundraising goal and need to make some decisions in the next couple months regarding financing, when to solicit bids, and when to begin construction. So we need to try to get people on the same page on when they feel secure enough to move ahead until the rest of the pledge money comes in. It is anticipated that renovations would be completed within 6 months, barring any unforeseen supply chain issues with equipment or furniture or some other integral piece to make it all work. So thank you for visiting the center in October. For those of you who were on the board last year, we view this additional space as a game changer for our programs and events. Moving some of our adult programs to this new space frees up space in the library for the children's people to expand their programs. And we don't know how soon this is going to happen, but I'm hoping by the end of the year. So we'll see how that goes. So the library's success in the community is a result of multiple groups of people working together for a common goal to be a community center for learning and leisure. And this starts with our library board of trustees, our friends of the library group who raise money to support the library and are incredibly hardworking and raised $21,000 this past weekend at their book sale. They are loving their new space. We are loving the increased income. Our library staff and volunteers, our library patrons who come to borrow materials, use the computers, read the newspaper. Yes, we still get the printed newspaper, or attend our free programs. And then the library donors who support our various fundraising events for the library or for the Friends, and the donors with their financial support. But for tonight, most importantly, the library needs strong community partners in order to survive and to thrive. Mechanicsburg School District is a stellar partner, supporter, and advocate for your community libraries, programs, and services. Your financial support demonstrates the value and respect you have for what Simpson Library offers the community. We are truly grateful for that support. I have been at the library for 27 years. The school district has been supporting before then, and it is at a much higher level today. It is incredible the support that we get from you, and we do not take that for granted. On a final note, I wanted to share an example of kindness from your students for people that they don't know. Yesterday, I received a Valentine from my visiting home nurse with the Visiting Nurses Association. And it is signed by someone, handwritten signature, from Upper Allen Elementary School. And how ironic is it that I get this yesterday, and I'm here tonight to talk to the school board, and the Upper Allen principal is in the room.
Who signed the card?
I don't want to say it out loud, but I will show it to
Okay.
you. It's like all of this has kind of, the planets have aligned for me to be here to hear about the World Expo and for you to hear about this. It should make you feel good. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. My contact info is on the sheet that you have. Our youth services coordinators' contact info is on there as well. please reach out. Are there any questions you have at this point or comments?
So I just wanted to say is anytime I get the opportunity to speak on behalf of the board, either the staff or public, I always try to bring up 3 organizations that I think are just great for the school district and the community. And that's the Wildcat Foundation, Operation Wildcat, and our longest running partnership is with the library. I just can't thank you folks enough for what you do to the community, you know, and the interaction with the, not just kids, but also adults. It's something that really pulls the community together. Just keep up the great work.
Thank you. There is a lot that we do that a number of people have no idea that we do. So promotion and advocacy is a never-ending task for us. And the more people who know what we're doing and are willing to share it, the better everybody can be. If you share with your neighbor who has a small toddler, you know, the library has free literacy programs for your kids. You know, free. Even though it's not free to us or to do it, it's free to the community. And there's a value there. So we appreciate the value that you see in us.
I think it's great. Every time we hear from the library, I learn about a new program. I think it's really great to continue to, you know, find new ways. Like I know that you guys are going into the buildings and supporting programs. I think that's great. But I also want to shout out Dr. Leidy for being a part of the capital campaign committee, among other things, you know, that you do for the library and for our students. I think it's a great intersection and a great model of leadership. What we want to see, it isn't just, yeah, thanks, you know, here's, you do your thing, we'll do our thing, but the linkage we've heard about, you know, the model to get the kids to read, you know, or you know, kind of align things so they're ready for kindergarten up through here. I think that's really helpful and shows, and cynically, like in the results we get for the readers, you know, and that's not the whole reason, but I think you have to do it this way. So I really thank you for your support and leadership there.
Yeah. Well, similar to Nadir's mom, you can't say no to Sue, and so she is a force to be reckoned with in a very positive way. And I love saying that great things are happening in Mechanicsburg Area School District, but I really could stop and say great things are happening in Mechanicsburg, and this is an example of it. Love what you're doing with the community and the facility, and not allowing a building to dilapidate, but instead to turn it into a very special place for learning beyond the school district, which is, I just couldn't support more, so thank you. Very good. That concludes my report for this evening.
Item 3.02, Capital Area Intermediate Unit, Mr. Bradley.
The intermediate unit met on January 25th. Just a couple of major items or key updates. One was mid-year update on the strategic plan that has been put together. Their continued focus on providing programs and opportunities to help the different school districts. And then the other major thing was the general operating budget, as we are, much like we are going through the cycle. The intermediate unit goes through the cycle, and the operating budget is one of the only budgets that we, as sponsoring school districts or members of the board, get an opportunity to vote on. They do have another 50 to 60 budgets that are used, but those budgets are really more geared towards the particular program that money is tied to a particular program. The operating budget is something that we will get an opportunity to review and an opportunity to actually vote on. The next meeting will be 25th of February.
Any questions for Mr. Bradley? Thank you for the report, Mr. Bradley. Item 3.03, Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical School Report, Mr. Sanker.
Thank you. I apologize. I lost my notes. I didn't save, but so I'll be reading from my phone. The JFC met on January 22nd. We met with our architect, who continues, and associated contractors with them, who are in meeting with Silver Spring Township and going back and forth on planning commission type level stuff there, which is good and not so good, but it's fine. Things continue to move forward. That's good to hear. We heard a lot about some great student work at the farm show in different capacities and other student awards that had come up in the last couple of months, which was great to hear about as always. We hired a remediation contractor to actually take care of the oil spill from October. So just a quick summary of what happened. It kind of leaked out of an auxiliary tank into a stormwater pipe on the campus, and then that kind of leaky pipe leached into the ground right there, kind of in front of the building. So some of it, of course, continued down the pipe and out into the conduit, but the part that is on campus, the ground that's holding the oil is what is going to be remediated. So that's good. That's going to be taken care of. That was kind of the main action item. Kind of a long meeting just because we spent a lot of time discussing some other things, but kind of working slowly with new board members on what is this acronym, and kind of get committees together, that sort of thing. So our next meeting is at the end of the month here on the 28th. I will attend.
Any questions for Mr. Sanger? Thank you for the report. Item 3.04, PSBA legislative report. I don't have any formal report this month, but I do have a question to Peter. Are you getting the daily updates in your district email? Okay, so you are signed up for that and it's coming through. Because it's actually it doesn't say when to that. It's really a good way to stay informed on just educational issues throughout the state. So make sure you guys are getting it. So I have nothing else legislatively. If anybody else has anything else they'd like to offer, administrators. Okay. Move on to item 3.05, Finance Facilities Committee report. Mr. Sanger.
Yes, the committee met on January 23rd. We heard 2 items during our meeting, and then a couple of other items that were in the work session that are on the agenda tonight. The first item that we heard from was from our auditors, from Boyer and Ritter. We have that for approval this evening, the audited financial statement. And the second item were the HVAC bid results for Elmwood Academy, which came in better than the estimate, which is always good. That's also on the on the agenda for approval this evening. That concludes my report.
Questions for Mr. Sanger? Thank you, Mr. Sanger. Item 3.06, Board President Report. I'd like to announce executive session to be held following tonight's public meeting to discuss personnel matters. And I have announcement of board contacts and committee assignments and representatives for 2024. On the board contacts, athletics is Lane Lebo, budget and finance, Tracy Morgan, curriculum, Julie Huff, facilities, Brian Sanker, personnel, Richard Bradley, policy is Peter Frankel, tax policies is Jason Kitchline, and technology is Joshua Rhodes. On the finance and facilities committee, Brian Sanker is the chair. The other 3 members are Richard Bradley, Tracy Morgan, John Rupp, and next year we'll start to rotate some of the newer members on, which we try to do anyways, but give you guys a year and then make some rotation there. And the representations to other organizations, Capital Area Intermediate Unit Representative, Mr. Bradley. The alternate to that position is Peter Frankel. Cumberland Perry Tech School Representative, Brian Sanker. Harrisburg Area Community College Delegate, Tracy Morgan. PA School Boards Association Legislative Representative, myself. South Central Trust Representative, Joshua Rhodes. South Central Trust Alternate, Jason Kitchline. Wildcat Foundation, the permanent position is the board president, myself. And as they had created also an alternate for that and that will be Julie Huff. Any questions on the committee assignments? Very good. We'll move on to item 6, new business, budget and finance. Dr. Rhodes, I'm going to give you Tracy's as she's having some Problems?
with glasses.
Okay. Item 6.01, Dr. Rhodes.
I ask the board to approve the treasurer's report as per attachments, which include the following. Treasurer's report for January 2024. 2, board budget report for January 2024. 3, general fund invoices paid check number 67657 to 67858 in the amount of $1,010,153.28. Number 4, electronic payments in the amount of $5,065,578.37. General fund invoices payable checks 67859 to 67873 in the amount of $1,298,877.33. Capital Reserve Fund invoice paid check 1890 to 1892 in the amount of $19,744.96. Series of 2023 construction fund invoices paid check 154 to number 170 in the amount of $3,694,512.39. And investment, number 8, investment portfolio.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Are we looking for a new board treasurer? That was pretty good. That's all I'm saying.
We'll be getting one, as you know, as we move from a class 3 to a class 2.
Oh, yeah, we can't be a board member, sorry.
Any other?
Easy, buddy.
Any other discussion on the treasurer's report? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6.02, Dr. Rhodes.
I ask the board to accept the audited financial statements for the year end June 30th, 2023, as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Item 6.03, Dr. Rhodes.
I ask the board to approve the Cumberland Perry Area Career Technical Center budget for 2024 through 2025, as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote. And the financial statements, if I could just call the roll one time there for financial statements, I think we had the questions there, but for the financial statements, 6.02, that will be approved unless I hear a negative response. I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Did I miss that?
Yes.
Amazing. So we're now on 6.04.
Correct.
6.04, Dr. Rhodes.
Ask the board to approve the 2024-2025 Capital Reserve Fund budget as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6.05, Mr. Kitchline.
Ask the board to approve the real estate tax settlements of Allen Township, Borough of Mechanicsburg, Sharmanstown Borough.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6.06, Mr. Kitchline.
I ask the board to approve the tax policies report as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 8, new business facilities. Item 8.01, Mr. Sanker.
I make a motion to approve PlanCon Part J for Northside Elementary as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
How many PlanCon parts are there?
Jay gets us close.
Yeah, Jay is really the final one to set funding in place. Now, it's a good quiz question because PlanCon's been on moratorium for a number of years, but I believe K is if you were to refund debt connected to, Mr. Sanker, that's good. So J is what sets it in place final. If we ever go back and refund any debt connected to any of our PlanCon projects, then we'd have to go back and file a K.
Mr. Longwell, not to put you on the spot, but for the sake of our 3 new board members, could you just very briefly
Yeah.
bring them up to snuff on exactly what PlanCon was and should be and maybe will be,
The history.
and where we stand in that with our building construction? Just a very brief.
I was here A through F.
This is a good question. That's a good question. So, for a very long time, PlanCon was a process that would allow school districts, as they renovated buildings or did new construction, to get some state funding to support those projects, the cost of those projects. I started at Newport as business manager around 2010. I feel like the moratorium started, looking at Dr. Lady, maybe around 11 or 12.
Yeah, it was actually before, it was right around 10 because we did not get PlanCon for the middle school project.
So that's that history of moratorium, if you will. Now, I'm thinking around 16, I want to say 16 or 17, because of the state budget delay, the moratorium is extended every year. And 16 or 17, because of the state budget delay and some protocol issues, there was a gap, a very small window where the moratorium was temporarily lifted because of the lack of agreement. To Dr. Lady's credit, Dr. Andrews' credit, we got 5 projects in that little window. I think there's only 25 districts, or I should say, there's only 25 school buildings that got through that little gap window, and 5 of them were Mechanicsburg's. And so I hear about that sometimes at conferences. But so all that to say, 5 of our elementary projects got through the PlanCon process and are getting some portion of funding, state funding, to support those projects. The 5 being everything but Elmwood, because Elmwood is a little different project. So. Since then, the moratorium has continued, and schools are unable to really get state funding. With the passage of the most recent state budget, there is a couple buckets of money, I'll call them. Dr. Lighty and I were just discussing this the other day. One is through PDE for things like abatement and certain other renovations. The other bucket of money is through the Commonwealth Financing Authority, CFA. I think that's a division or branch of DCED. And there's some monies available there as well. Suffice it to say, from our perspective, we want to continue with Elmwood's HVAC project, but we know there's some other things that may be lurking or looming out there for us to consider as possible funding sources. I think the other challenge a little bit is, as much as I appreciate the funding that they brought forward through those 2 buckets, PD and also the CFA, I think it's a more limited amount of money, and there's 500 school districts that have maybe been sitting on some projects. It's going to be a competitive process. So more to come, and we're waiting to learn more from PASBO and PDE about those things.
I think you might have a question or
No,
comment.
no, I was just gonna ask, how much administrative time has been spent on submitting PlanCons?
I can tell you from my perspective, I signed a paper, that's about that guy. And I also have to give credit, I know Mr. Long was very gracious there, but I have to give credit to Craig Verbal on the PlanCon window that opened, because I remember I usually like to be on a body of water on July 4th, and them saying, we have a chance, would you mind coming back and signing some papers? Thinking it better be a pretty good chance, and it was. And so they really were the impetus to that.
Any further questions on 8.01? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 8.02, Mr. Sanker.
Make a motion to approve the HVAC bid results for Elmwood Academy as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 9, new business, personnel. Item 9.01, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the personnel report as per the attachments.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
I am noticing we're starting to get the retirement announcements, and when you start to add up those years, there's, I think it was up to 200 years of service.
Yes.
In people that are scheduled to retire at the end of the year, end of the school year.
We're losing some talent, always welcome some new ideas at the same time.
One of my kids' kindergarten.
Any Any other discussion on the personnel report?
I would say there is some concern about, this teacher's obviously retiring and the talent pool that is available. Is the district doing anything to attract new talent, especially with local universities?
Yeah, so there's actually several programs. In fact, when we come back to the board in several weeks, we'll be talking about some of the initiatives we're taking from an HR perspective, including some of the local universities and partnerships, if you will, with them, for example.
And I also know we do try to accept student teachers, especially ones that are from this area, regardless of where they go to school. I know that had been an issue members of the public had asked about. But again, if you can get the ones in here, the student teachers, possibility they might decide to make this home.
Or encouraging former students.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding that, because we do have new board members, and I actually get this a lot. So if somebody comes to us and says, hey, you're on the school board at Mechanicsburg, I'd love to be a teacher in Mechanicsburg, who is the contact person that we can say, here, listen, go to this person?
Yeah, so our HR director is Christina Stata.
So that's who we would just
Right.
contact. Because
And if you think you like them, send them to Mark Light.
yeah, I know, I understand, yeah. But it's, because we do get that fairly.
Yeah, that's on our website. Employment opportunities is one of the tabs on the website, and they can go in that. But if they want to call and learn more information, I encourage them to call the HR department.
Excellent questions. Any further questions? Personnel report. Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10, new business policy. Item 10.01. Mr. Frankel.
I move to approve the second and final reading of revised board policy 001, name and classification as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Question. So I saw that we did change the administrative offices to Norway Street, so that's good. Do we need to include Lower Allen Annex 1 in the list of boroughs that are included in the district?
We generally do in things, maybe we didn't.
It looked like, because I think in the original policy, the Shiremanstown Borough, Upper Allen, Mechanicsburg, and Lower Allen Annex 1 is not included.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I mean, the history of the policy, I'm not sure we ever have. It's a great question.
It's a great question.
I think the way it is coded, really it's looked at synonymously with kind of an extension of the borough. So I think, yeah.
I just recently did see a document where it listed it. That's why I think it's an excellent question, because it is part of our district. We certainly
Yeah,
want
we can
those
look into
people to
that more.
feel, we want those people to feel that they're equal.
So it is
and
part of
well.
our, it's part of our district beyond Shermanstown?
Yeah.
Off of Rupp Avenue, the first couple streets that are in Lower Allen, actually go to our district, and it actually went back to their polling place, and their polling places in Sharmanstown, and therefore, that was my understanding how it
Right. So
happened.
it might just be included in Shiremanstown.
But like I said, I just saw a document where it did add them too, so I think
Yeah,
that's,
it's very fair.
as we were talking at the beginning of welcoming people
It's a unique thing. I think maybe only a handful in the state.
in the state, correct?
Yeah, it's a great question. That's kind of fun. Let's look into that.
I've been looking to annex some of the car dealerships in the Carlisle Pike.
Just
Throw that in there. That'd be really great.
I'll assign you, you're in charge of
Yeah.
that. You're in charge of that.
See if you won't
task.
miss one or
Yeah.
two.
Shared matter.
All right, trying to somewhat stay on task
Yeah.
here. Do we have any
Yeah.
further discussion on item 10.01? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10.02. Brian.
I move to approve the second and final reading of the revised board policy 005, organization as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10.03.
Further move to approve the second and final reading of the revised board policy 008, table of organization.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say that this is impressive. And, you know, I could really use your services.
Yeah, it does impress.
It's for you and UPS.
PowerPoints and.
Yeah, it's even- Sorry.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion or points of interest? Mr. Longwell.
Yes, unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Moving on to item 12, hearing of visitors. We have reached the second opportunity for public comment. This opportunity is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents of the school district. Public comment would be limited to 3 minutes per individual and requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please come up to the podium, share your name and district address. This is for items that were not on the agenda. Seeing none, item 13, Mr. Bradley.
I
You're the senior member.
call the meeting to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Second. Meeting is adjourned. We'll take a quick 5-minute break and we'll meet back for an executive session.
Yes, sir.
In that last document, I know it's kind of triggered thing, there was some dotted.
Yeah. So the dotted they are not. Can come in, so like Seth's. Tails. So he reports how that goes with.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out.